Someone actually sued a fast food chain because the pickles were removed from their burger by their own hands, and then they ate it anyway. And that is literally number 36 on this list. We found 49 real lawsuits so dumb, so gloriously unhinged that judges had to sit in a courtroom with a straight face and pretend these were serious legal matters. And some of them actually won. If you think you've heard the craziest one, wait until you get to the guy who sued an entire industry for his own appetite. Smash that hype button right now, because this channel is brand new and every single one of those 49 cases is about to make you question the entire American legal system. 1. A licensed attorney sued Popeyes because they handed him only a spork with his fried chicken. And instead of asking for proper cutlery, he started biting chunks off with his bare teeth like a prehistoric caveman. He choked badly and needed emergency surgery. Then this man who argued cases in courtrooms for a living turned around and blamed the restaurant for not providing a knife. The irony was so loud even the judge probably needed a moment. 2. A woman sued Starbucks claiming her iced coffee had too much ice. She argued the extra ice was basically robbery. Less liquid meant less drink, which meant less value for her money. A judge dismissed the case by stating that any reasonable person knows iced drinks contain ice. The woman had apparently been ordering iced drinks her entire adult life without ever once connecting those two words together. 3. A New Jersey couple sued Taco Bell because their $5 chalupa box rang up slightly over $5 at the register. They did not simply ask for a correction or walk away. They demanded full compensation for the gas money and time spent driving there in the first place. A fast food pricing dispute somehow became a federal-level inconvenience claim. The cashier probably earned less per hour than the couple spent on fuel getting there to argue about cents. 4. A man bit into a McDonald's McNugget and hit something unusually hard inside. He immediately assumed the worst and filed a $1.1 million lawsuit. Investigators looked closely at the evidence and discovered the hard object was simply one of the 4 classic McNugget shapes. That shape is just how the chicken is formed. And he sued a billion-dollar corporation over the geometry of his own lunch and somehow kept a straight face doing it. 5. A man ate at Wendy's, Burger King, KFC, and McDonald's at least 4 times every single week for years. His health declined badly, and he developed obesity and heart disease. Rather than reconsidering his habits, he sued all 4 chains at the same time for never warning him that fast food was unhealthy. The warning was printed on nutritional panels the entire time. He basically sued the rain for making him wet while refusing to carry an umbrella. 6. A woman saw a KFC television commercial showing a bucket absolutely overflowing with golden fried chicken. She bought one and found it only half full. KFC offered her gift certificates to settle the matter peacefully. She looked at those gift certificates and said no thank you, and took the entire situation straight to federal court instead. Somewhere, a KFC marketing intern who filmed that commercial felt a disturbance they could not explain. 7. A Los Angeles man filed a $5 million lawsuit against Krispy Kreme because the maple-flavored donuts contained no real maple syrup and the fruit-filled donuts had no real fruit inside. He was furious. He gathered his evidence. He filed his paperwork. Then, exactly 1 year later, he quietly dropped the entire case like absolutely nothing had ever happened and never explained why to anyone. 8. A woman walked into Dunkin' Donuts expecting a full steakhouse experience inside a $4 breakfast sandwich. She ordered the Angus steak and egg and received a regular beef patty instead of an actual hand-cut steak. She felt deeply deceived. The sandwich cost $4. A comparable steakhouse cut costs $40. She filed a lawsuit anyway because apparently the word steak on a budget breakfast menu was a legally binding promise of fine dining. 9. A couple sued McDonald's for $5 million because their local restaurant removed the Quarter Pounder with cheese from the menu. Not because they found anything wrong in the food, not because anyone got hurt. A cheeseburger was simply discontinued at one location, and these two people responded by filing federal paperwork demanding millions in compensation as though a fast food chain owed them a lifetime contract for a specific sandwich. 10. A prisoner sitting inside a Colorado jail cell sued Taco Bell, claiming he had personally invented the Doritos Locos Taco while incarcerated. He said he mailed a letter describing the entire idea. He believed the United States Postal Service deliberately intercepted that letter and quietly forwarded it to Taco Bell headquarters. Taco Bell's legal team read this claim from a man with no kitchen access who believed the Postal Service was running corporate espionage on his behalf. 11. A woman in New York discovered that one Burger King location charged her 89 cents for a large Coke, while another location just slightly further away charged only 69 cents. She did not shrug it off. She sued Burger King for exactly $100 to cover her inconvenience. Burger King responded by simply not showing up to court and still won the case. The judge essentially agreed that 20 cents was not worth anyone's time except apparently hers. 12. A man kept receiving pizza promotions from Papa John's on his phone even after repeatedly texting the word "stop" to their marketing number. The messages kept arriving anyway. He filed a lawsuit claiming the continued spam texts caused him genuine anxiety, frustration, and emotional suffering. He wanted the court to understand that unsolicited pepperoni updates were actively damaging his mental health. Somewhere, a Papa John's social media intern was unknowingly dismantling a grown man's peace of mind, one promotional text at a time. 13. A California woman ordered a sandwich from Jimmy John's, and it arrived without sprouts, even though the menu clearly listed sprouts as an included ingredient. She felt this missing garnish was worth legal action. Jimmy John's responded to the entire situation by simply offering a free side item to any customer who complained. She had filed a lawsuit over a topping that the chain resolved with the equivalent of a handful of chips. 14. A woman planted a severed human finger into a bowl of Wendy's chili and filed a lawsuit hoping to collect a large settlement. The finger came from her husband's coworker who had lost it in a workplace accident. Her plan caused Wendy's to lose $21 million in sales before investigators noticed something important. Not a single Wendy's employee had any reported injuries. She was arrested, sent to prison, and became the only person in history to lose a finger twice without losing a finger herself. 15. A man sued Subway for $1 million after biting into his foot-long sandwich and discovering a 7-inch knife baked directly into the bread, an actual kitchen knife, inside his lunch. Most companies would immediately apologize and panic. Subway's initial response suggested they did not find this particularly alarming. The man had accidentally ordered a sandwich with more structural integrity than anyone at that location had apparently noticed during the entire preparation process. 16. A class action lawsuit claimed that Taco Bell's ground beef contained only 35% actual beef. Taco Bell did not quietly settle. They launched billboards, took out full-page newspaper ads, and aggressively announced their beef was actually 88% beef. Legal teams got involved, money was spent, and by the end of the public battle, nobody felt more confident about what was in their taco, and somehow the whole situation made everyone slightly more suspicious than before. 17. A man bit into an Arby's chicken sandwich and found a slice of human skin nearly 1 inch long sitting inside. Investigators traced it back to the manager who had sliced his thumb while cutting lettuce earlier that shift. The manager had not noticed the flesh had fallen into the food and simply continued preparing and serving sandwiches to customers for the rest of the day. The man who found it probably never ordered chicken anywhere again without briefly considering the preparation process first. 18. A California lawsuit in 2021 claimed that Subway's tuna contained absolutely no detectable tuna DNA whatsoever, and the New York Times tested sandwiches from 3 separate locations and also found no identifiable tuna species present. The case was building momentum until one of the plaintiffs became pregnant, felt too unwell to continue, and the lawsuit was eventually dropped. Subway's tuna technically survived a federal investigation, partly because someone needed rest during their first trimester. 19. Slipknot. The heavy metal band sued Burger King because the chain created a fictional promotional band called Roku to advertise chicken fries. The fictional band wore chicken masks that Slipknot argued looked far too similar to their own iconic masks. Burger King responded by counter-suing and claiming Slipknot had actually borrowed their masked band concept from Kiss and other groups first. Two legal teams spent real money debating which group had the superior claim to wearing frightening masks while performing loud music. 20. A man sued McDonald's after claiming his soda contained buprenorphine, which is a powerful prescription opioid medication used to treat addiction. That lawsuit was already unusual enough on its own. 2 years later, he filed again claiming the same incident had given him lifelong post-traumatic stress disorder requiring permanent counseling. He had apparently been monitoring his symptoms for 2 full years and concluded that a fast food fountain drink had altered the entire trajectory of his mental health forever. 21. A Florida man slipped on a wet floor inside a Burger King bathroom and fell badly enough to require surgery. He still lives with complications from that day. Unlike nearly every other person on this entire list, he had an actual injury from an actual hazard that the restaurant was genuinely responsible for maintaining. He filed his lawsuit and had a completely legitimate case. He is arguably the only real winner in this entire countdown, which says everything about everyone else on this list. 22. A woman sued McDonald's claiming the chain's advertising had forced her to buy Happy Meals for her children completely against her own will. She argued the toy prizes inside were deliberate psychological manipulation targeting her kids directly. She described herself as powerless to resist the influence of a paper box with a cartoon on it. McDonald's had apparently developed mind control technology so advanced it could override a grown mother's parenting decisions from a television screen across the living room. 23. A California man sued a Jack in the Box location claiming the drive-through speaker was positioned at such an uncomfortable angle that leaning out his window to order gave him a neck injury every single time. He wanted the court to order the restaurant to fix it immediately. What made this particularly fascinating was that he had visited the exact same drive-through repeatedly before deciding the neck pain was worth suing over rather than simply worth stopping. 24. A New York couple sued McDonald's after the restaurant ran out of Szechuan dipping sauce following the massive fan frenzy triggered by the cartoon show Rick and Morty in 2017. Lines had stretched around buildings. Fights had broken out at locations nationwide. This couple argued that McDonald's failure to stock sufficient quantities of a limited promotional sauce caused them genuine emotional distress. They wanted compensation for suffering caused by a condiment that had not existed on the menu the previous week. 25. A New York man sued White Castle because the booth seats were too narrow for him to sit comfortably inside the restaurant. He argued White Castle had failed its duty to accommodate larger-bodied Americans. The lawsuit received media attention and generated public debate about accessibility. What made the whole situation particularly interesting was that throughout the entire legal process, he continued returning to the same White Castle location regularly while simultaneously arguing in court that the seating was too small for him to be there. 26. A California man sued Jamba Juice claiming their all-natural smoothies secretly contained ingredients that were not natural at all. He wanted damages. He wanted accountability. Jamba Juice pointed out during proceedings that every single ingredient was already printed clearly on the label and had been publicly available for anyone to read at any time before purchasing. He had apparently been drinking smoothies for long enough to develop an opinion about the ingredients, but not long enough to read the side of the cup. 27. A man sued Panda Express, claiming their orange chicken was so dangerously delicious that he had developed a genuine fast food addiction he could no longer control on his own. He argued the chain was fully responsible for his inability to stop eating there. Panda Express had apparently created a product so effective at being enjoyable that a customer felt a court of law was the appropriate place to address his feelings about repeatedly choosing to return and order the same meal again and again. 28. A woman ordered a McFlurry from McDonald's and received one that she felt was not properly blended. The ice cream was present, the toppings were present, everything was technically there. But the mixing had not met her personal standard, and she believed this entitled her to financial compensation. She had essentially received a dessert that was 90% correct and decided the remaining 10% of insufficient swirling was a matter requiring the attention of the legal system. 29. A man sued Wendy's after studying their logo very carefully and concluding that the image of Wendy on the sign secretly contained the word "mom" embedded within the collar of her dress. He argued this hidden word created subconscious psychological manipulation, making customers associate Wendy's food with maternal warmth and comfort. This subliminal connection, he claimed, caused him to overeat. He had apparently stared at a fast food logo long enough to develop both a conspiracy theory and a lawsuit from the same sitting. 30. A man sued Taco Bell for emotional distress after the chain discontinued the Mexican pizza from their menu in 2020. He argued the loss of this specific menu item had caused him genuine suffering. Interestingly, a massive online fan petition demanding the Mexican pizza's return was circulating at exactly the same time, attracting hundreds of thousands of signatures. He had the support of the entire internet behind him and still chose to express his grief exclusively through the legal system rather than simply signing the petition like everyone else. 31. A customer bit into a Subway sandwich and felt something sharp and metallic scraping against their teeth. It turned out to be an actual metal staple from the bread packaging that had somehow ended up baked directly into the dough. The customer had already swallowed part of it before realizing what was happening. They filed a lawsuit immediately. Subway had essentially served a sandwich with bonus hardware included at no extra charge, and somehow this had made it all the way through the entire preparation and serving process unnoticed. 32. A man sued Burger King after receiving only one single napkin with his entire meal. He argued that one napkin was completely insufficient for the quantity of food sitting in front of him. He believed this shortage represented a genuine failure of the duty of care that a restaurant owes every paying customer. Somewhere a Burger King employee had reached into the napkin dispenser, pulled out exactly one, and made a judgment call that would eventually require a lawyer to resolve professionally. 33. A woman sued Dunkin' Donuts after ordering a dozen donuts and discovering upon inspection that one of them was noticeably smaller than all the others. She did not eat it and move on. She described this size discrepancy as fraud misrepresentation and a direct breach of the implied covenant of good faith in donut commerce. She had apparently developed a precise internal standard for acceptable donut dimensions, and one rogue, undersized ring of fried dough had pushed her completely past her legal threshold. 34. A California man sued Subway claiming their bread contained so much sugar that it did not legally qualify as bread under food classification standards. This sounds like an unusual argument, until you learn that a court in Ireland had already ruled on this exact same point years earlier. But he had accidentally stumbled into a piece of international fast food bread litigation with genuine legal precedent behind it. Subway was now defending the identity of their bread on two separate continents against people who just wanted to eat sandwiches. 35. A man sued KFC claiming their famous secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices was no longer actually secret. Someone had reportedly photographed a handwritten copy of the recipe, and the image had circulated publicly. He argued that KFC's entire brand promise was built on secrecy, and that secrecy had now been compromised. He personally deserved financial compensation for this breach. KFC had spent decades protecting a recipe, and one photograph had apparently given a stranger the legal confidence to submit paperwork about it. 36. A Florida man ordered a burger with absolutely no pickles at Burger King. The burger arrived with pickles on it. He removed every single pickle himself with his own 2 hands. He then ate the entire burger. After finishing his meal, he filed a lawsuit claiming the emotional distress caused by the presence of pickles he had already physically removed from the food warranted legal compensation. He had personally solved the problem before finishing his lunch, and then decided the memory of the problem was worth taking to court. 37. A customer sued Starbucks claiming their famous pumpkin spice latte contained absolutely no real pumpkin anywhere in the recipe. She felt deceived by the autumnal branding and wanted accountability. Starbucks responded by confirming that the drink does in fact contain real pumpkin puree as an ingredient. And upon receiving this information, the customer quietly dropped the entire lawsuit without providing any explanation to anyone. She had filed legal paperwork over a seasonal beverage, and the answer had simply been yes, it has pumpkin in it. 38. A man filed a single lawsuit simultaneously against every major fast food chain at once. His argument was that the combined presence of so many fast food restaurants near his home made it psychologically impossible for him to maintain a healthy diet. He held the entire industry collectively responsible for his personal willpower. He did not sue one chain. He sued all of them together in one document, as though the solution to his lunch decisions was a courtroom rather than a different route home from work. 39. A man sued McDonald's because he claimed the sight of the Golden Arches logo triggered genuine anxiety every time he drove past a location. He requested that McDonald's redesign or permanently remove their globally recognized sign to protect his mental well-being. The Golden Arches are visible in over 100 countries and have been one of the most recognized symbols on Earth for decades. He had essentially asked one of the most powerful brands in human history to redecorate because of his feelings during his commute. 40. A woman sued Chipotle claiming that her portion sizes were frustratingly inconsistent between visits. She had received more black beans on one Saturday than she received the following Tuesday, and she felt this gap in bean distribution constituted genuine consumer fraud. Chipotle employs thousands of people across thousands of locations, scooping ingredients by hand every day. She had apparently been tracking her bean counts carefully enough across multiple visits to build what she considered a legally compelling case about burrito bowl fairness. 41. A man sued Sonic Drive-In after a car hop skated up to his window at what he considered an unreasonably fast speed. The sudden arrival startled him badly enough that he spilled his own drink all over himself. He argued that Sonic's entire business model of employees skating to customer vehicles was a public safety hazard requiring an official court order to fix permanently. Sonic had been operating this exact same way since 1953, and this man was the first person to suggest the skating was actually a form of legal negligence. 42. Say a man sued Hardee's claiming the smell of their burgers drifting from the parking lot was so powerfully enticing that it constituted an unfair enticement. He argued the aroma had caused him to abandon his diet and walk inside completely against his better judgment. He wanted the smell itself declared legally actionable. He'd apparently driven past a burger restaurant while hungry, and instead of crediting his own nose with the decision, he identified the source of the smell as the responsible party and contacted a lawyer about it. 43. A woman sued Five Guys because she felt the cup labeled Little Fries was deceptively named. She expected a genuinely small portion and instead received an overflowing cup packed with far more fries than she had anticipated. Five Guys is universally famous for giving every customer dramatically more fries than expected. She had apparently never encountered this information despite it being one of the most frequently discussed facts about the entire chain, and wanted a refund specifically for the extra food she had been given. 44. A man sued Chick-fil-A because the restaurant closes every single Sunday without exception. He argued this weekly closure caused him genuine mental anguish, loss of enjoyment of life, and a recurring craving disorder that peaked with suspicious reliability every Sunday morning. He wanted the court to recognize the closure schedule itself as a form of emotional harm. Chick-fil-A has been closed on Sundays since the very first location opened, and this man had apparently spent years developing feelings about it before finally deciding a judge needed to hear them. 45. A man sued Carl's Jr., claiming their advertising featuring attractive people eating burgers had created a completely unrealistic expectation of the dining experience. He arrived at the restaurant feeling misled and personally disappointed by the gap between the commercial and reality. Carl's Jr. had been running provocative burger advertisements for years, and millions of customers had managed to order food without filing paperwork afterward. He was apparently the first person to experience the specific emotional injury of a fast food commercial not accurately representing the ambiance of the restaurant. 46. A woman sued McDonald's claiming that after eating a Filet-O-Fish, she developed such a severe fish aversion that she could no longer visit seafood restaurants with her family. She argued McDonald's was directly responsible for ruining her entire relationship with ocean food as a category. One sandwich from a fast food chain had allegedly closed the door permanently on an entire section of the culinary world for her. Her family's future seafood dinners were apparently now a casualty of a breaded fish patty that cost less than $4. 47. A man sued Taco Bell after finding a dead fly inside his burrito wrapper. Not inside the burrito itself, just inside the wrapper sitting near the food. He argued that the psychological image of what could theoretically have happened was just as traumatic as if the fly had actually ended up in his mouth. He wanted compensation for a scenario that had not occurred based on his emotional response to imagining it. Taco Bell had technically delivered his food uncontaminated, and he sued them anyway for the version of events that existed only in his imagination. 48. A man sued Subway in 2013 after an Australian teenager proved online that a foot-long sandwich measured only 11 inches instead of 12. The case grew into a class action lawsuit and dragged through the courts for 3 full years. When it finally settled, the 10 actual plaintiffs each received $500. The lawyers, however, collected over $520,000 between them. And one attorney then sued to challenge the settlement on the grounds that only the lawyers had truly benefited, which was the most honest thing anyone said during the entire 3 years. 49. A man sued McDonald's claiming the drive-through lane was physically designed in a way that made it impossible to leave once you pulled in without placing an order. He argued the layout had removed his free will as a consumer entirely. The architecture itself had committed the offense. He had apparently pulled into a drive-through lane, which exists exclusively for the purpose of ordering food, and was surprised to discover it was optimized for ordering food. He sued the building for doing exactly what every drive-through building on Earth is supposed to do, and there you have it. 49 people who looked at a fast food restaurant and thought, yes, this is worth calling a lawyer about. Sporks, ice cubes, bean portions, a fly that never even touched the food. If any of this made you question humanity, even slightly smash that like button, subscribe to BrainFumble, and turn notifications on because we find this stuff so you never have to. Share this with someone who needs a reality check. Now tell us in the comments which one of these 49 legends do you think deserved to actually win?